All right, it says we are live, and I don't normally come on at 4 in the afternoon, but I am just going to let everyone know. Hi, it's Nancy Rebecca, and I have Gia Stull on with me today. I do see one of you has popped on, so if you wouldn't mind just putting a little comment in the comment section so that I know that that's working as well, then we'll get started. So, okay, we've got a few people. We're up to three, Gia. So people coming on. So yeah, normally I don't do this. Oh, you've already had someone say hello, Gia.
Hi. I don't see any comments
Yeah,
scrolling anywhere, but that's okay.
that's something to get used to. Hi, sounds good. Awesome. Thank you, Michelle from YouTube. So we have Facebook and YouTube coming in. So my name is Nancy Rebecca, and for this entire week, we've done that fabulous workshop, that free workshop that was about anxiety and intuition. Now we've just started the bonus sessions today where we're really talking about the different levels of intuition. And I wanted to bring on Gia because she's one of my current students in the Psychic Mastery 1 program. When she joined, it was called the Home Intuitive Mind Home Study Program. So she's actually been with me during that time. The home study was developed in 2012, and then technology wise, we needed to really do an upgrade. And so she's been waiting patiently through the upgrade, and now she's in the new program. So, hello, Wilma. You know Wilma. She's saying hello,
Yeah.
ladies.
Hi.
So Gia, she said she's just a wee bit nervous, and I thought, well, I think we're always a wee bit nervous when we're coming on live. But Gia, um, I know you as a student, and I know you in the Psychic Mastery 1 program. And what I know and what I notice about you is that you are so great at always keeping kind of the team of students together. That when a student posts on our private Facebook page, you're always really good at responding or giving a little heart or a little like. When we're on our calls, our teaching calls, which we have every single Monday called Mentoring Monday, and our conference calls, you're always really good too about sharing a little heart or making a little comment. So you're always just you just have this beautiful aura about you, and I can tell you really care about people. However, I don't know a lot about you. And so,
Okay.
yeah, so how old are you and where do you work? Or just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. I am 51 as of March 24th.
Nice.
And yeah, I work for the MSPCA, which is Angel Animal Medical Center. I work as a client liaison, so I help to answer incoming calls for patients and for clients calling in for pretty much any reason, whether it's an emergency, scheduling an appointment, just questions about wildlife in general. And my primary focus is with the general medicine primary care team. So that's like your primary physician if you're a human person. For humans. It's the primary care version for animals, and it'll be 5 years in June that I've worked with
Wow.
them. Yeah. So I talk
So,
to people all day on the phone.
so is it, you mentioned wildlife. Is it all wildlife or is it cats and dogs? And
No, it's pets, cats, dogs, birds, rabbits,
wow.
chinchillas, lizards, snakes, turtles. I don't do direct care. I'm more on the administrative, but we all are able to help discern if your pet's having an emergency or not, or what kind of
Yeah.
care to direct you to. Um,
Oh,
and I do work remotely now since COVID started. Our communication team is not really necessary for us to be on site, so we get to work remotely.
mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
So how do you do? I mean, do you feel like you're a people person? Because, yeah, learning to work virtually and create relationships can be a bit of a challenge.
That's a great question because my career before working at Angel was in retail. I worked in retail for almost 30 years, and that's a very people, you're, working
Yeah.
with clients and patrons up front, face to face all the time. And I was in managerial and supervisory positions in retail. But I started to get burnt out on that,
Mhm.
especially when my father started to become very ill. And there was a lot of time being dedicated to helping care for him. Retail hours are all over the place. There's nothing
Mhm.
consistent. And I was really getting burnt out. And with COVID and other things happening, retail started to be kind of unstable. So I took the opportunity to just consider what I knew was going to be important for me, which was job security. So I started looking into other things that I could do.
Mhm.
And this came along. I had already been a client of Angel with my own pets. So I knew of them. And I was sitting in the
Oh,
waiting room one day for an appointment. And I was like, you know what? I wonder if I could work here. I don't know if I'm qualified to do anything, but I'll check it out. And so I found the liaison positions. And at first I was like, I don't know, answering phones. I don't really want to sound like a robot, saying the same thing all the time, every day. But then the more I learned about what I'd be doing and that I didn't need any veterinary experience, I was like, you know what? I could do this. And
nice.
yeah,
Nice.
so
Nice. And so, how did you hear about the Psychic Mastery program? And how long have you been in Psychic Mastery?
so I started in, I think it was January of 2021. Is that right?
I think that's about right.
My sister told me about it. And she found out about it through her friend, who is one of your psychic master, I don't know
Yeah,
what you call them,
the more
Donna,
advanced professional
the
development.
advanced professionals.
Yeah,
Yeah.
got it. Yeah.
So she told me about it. Um, she said, I want to tell you about this thing. I think it'd be great. There's this deal. I want to bring you in, and I want to restart it myself, and I'll pay for half of it for you, but I think it would be great. And as soon as she started talking about what it is and what it was about, I got goosebumps, first of all. And I was like, oh my gosh, I think this is what I've been looking for, because I've always considered myself kind of like a spiritual person. I don't know that I'd use that word, but just open to different things that aren't sort of, I don't know,
Not mainstream,
not
just
mainstream. Yeah.
yeah.
And um, as my sister was sharing about her experiences with it, it started making me feel like, okay, this is going to help me kind of connect the dots to things that I already feel like I have a sense about, but
Mhm,
now I get to have the explanation or the understanding about why
mhm.
these things are happening. And the analogy at the time, I was so excited to start. I didn't even need to read anything about it. I was like, okay, yes, I'm in.
You knew
But
your spirit wanted you there.
yes, absolutely. And it felt like the feeling of, I don't know if you celebrate Christmas, but when it's like Christmas time and you don't know what your presents are going to be, but you're just going to absolutely love them, whatever they are. Like, that's the feeling. And I still have that feeling, even though there's a lot of stuff that's like, oh, I didn't expect that, but okay, let's see what this does. And let's see, it's like, let's open the next little treasure. And so that's how I found out about it.
Yeah. So, did you consider yourself intuitive as a child or sensitive, or could you sense things as a child, or did that come later in life?
I don't know that I would say that I felt intuitive. I know that I felt very sure of myself as a child relative to what I felt like I knew was right for me and what I wanted and what I felt I needed. I didn't have a problem expressing that. I'm sure my siblings and my mother can tell you stories. But my mom told me a story of when I was born. She said she knew exactly when I was crying because I had the loudest, lowest cry of anyone in the hospital, she said. And she's like, just bring her to me. just bring her to me. And I feel like that's a good way of describing how, in hindsight, I would maybe describe how I felt as a child. I felt very like, okay, here I am now, and let's just do this, and like, so I had often like, there would be comments that I would make about like, why do I always get the smallest room because I'm the smallest child when I have the most things? Like I was very defiant. I was very like, I had a sense of entitlement in a way. Looking back, I would kind of describe it that way as like, okay, so just because I'm younger, or just because I'm smaller, doesn't mean I don't have the same amount of hunger or the same amount of needs or the same amount of space. Like I had that sense of myself. And I think I didn't know any different, but I think that I don't know. That's just kind of how I kind of got a sense of myself.
I'm kind of laughing because the interview that I did with Sarah, who's in your course with you, it's the same exact thing. She was just like, I just had this strong sense of self from a very young age. And, I was sensitive. I was sensitive to things. I just knew things. So that was, I find that fascinating that you both had such a strong sense of self. But
I would definitely agree.
But you're 51 and you chose when you were 50. So I don't know if that was kind of a milestone decision for you to join Intuitive Mind. But was it that you felt it was time to develop your intuition, or you just wanted to understand more of what you were picking up, or did you want to heal yourself, or because you were already meditating, correct?
Yeah, nothing consistent, but yeah, I would say it was more about helping to add a deeper level of understanding of things that I felt like I already kind of knew, but just kind of again connecting those dots. Like I think as an adult, getting into my adulthood, I would attach words to myself like, okay, I have a gut feeling or an intuitive sense about something, or like I just would know. Like I feel like I would know certain things, but I wouldn't necessarily know how to articulate that to anyone else except myself. Like and I would say, okay, I don't know, I just know. Like I can't explain it, but I just know, or I just have to do this because I just have to do it. And if someone would ask me to try to explain it, I would fail because I wouldn't know how to articulate it. But I just had that sense of like, this is something that I need to do. So I'm just going to roll with it and see how it goes. Mom always kind of would say, trust your first thought, trust your instinct, trust your gut. So that was always something I was comfortable relying on. But then what would happen is the questioning or the doubt would come in when it didn't fall in line with expectations of whomever I might have needed to interact with relative to that. And so then I would be like, and then that's when that would start to happen. But
I talk about, so knowingness is something, it's going to be the bonus teaching I'll cover on Monday. But of course, you've had lots of teachings on that. And it's definitely an hour-long teaching in the Psychic Mastery 1 program that goes more in depth. But I always say knowingness is the highest ability, but the least appreciated, because you just know, but you have no way to prove it or nothing to back it up. But when it happens, people look at you and say, oh my God, you knew that. How did you know?
Right.
So it sounds like your family's pretty open. I mean, definitely your sister recommended. You're in the program with your sister. And so your family's pretty open. How about friends and people around you? Do you feel like you can talk about being sensitive?
Some, I would say there are some members of my family that aren't necessarily as open in the same way. Some acquaintances and friends that aren't necessarily, but definitely some people that are. People tend to gravitate to me as
Mm-hmm.
someone who they feel like is empathetic, understanding, patient. I've been
Mm-hmm.
described even as a young child as an old soul. Um, and I don't necessarily feel like that's something I like doing, but if someone gravitates to me, then I'm not going to necessarily shun them away, but I don't necessarily gravitate to wanting to.
Mm-hmm. To be kind of open about it. I mean,
Yeah,
if you're
I don't
guided,
know.
spiritually guided is what I say.
Okay, yeah. Um,
Like often, I'll say, no, I don't read people, I don't, I might pick up on things, but I'm just running to the store to get the milk and eggs just like everybody else and trying to get
right.
home and get dinner made or something. But I have kind of this rule, the question that's asked is the question that's ready for an answer. And
Mm,
so I won't answer, unless somebody asks the question, because that, to me, it tells me their spirit wants to know. Their
okay, yeah.
spirit's nudging them to ask a question. So you've been in the program now
Hmm.
for over a year. So what are your favorite parts about the program, and what was it like for you to start kind of running, grounding, and running your energy for the first time?
So let me think back. Um, I had a hard time figuring out that I was having a challenge grounding until I asked about it. um, but I think what the experiences of learning how to experience myself as energy was
Mm-hmm.
something that um, I'm obviously still learning how to do, but it was again like those little Christmas gifts, like, you know, and at times when I would get frustrated and just feel like, okay, I'm just going to not do this now, then I'd have a little breakthrough,
Mm-hmm.
moment of something happening. And that in and of itself would encourage me to keep trying and keep
Mm-hmm.
doing it. And I wasn't necessarily a stranger to meditation, but what's new and what I really love and appreciate about this is the the fact that you're also a nurse, like,
Mm-hmm.
helps to kind of reinforce, okay, there's real physiology about all of this. This isn't like voodoo hoo hoo woo woo stuff. Like there's and also my own personal experiences of not being able to explain, but just knowing, okay, now I know what she was talking about because of this thing that I just experienced that I'm probably never going to be able to explain to anybody.
Yeah.
Those things have happened to me in different significant moments throughout my life. When I was very young, one of the first experiences that I had that I would say is like connection with spirit or something
Mm-hmm.
else was I was climbing from a jungle gym in my backyard to a tree that was adjacent to it, and my body was physically not big enough to span and pull myself up and over. But I remember it as clear as day, and I'm getting goosebumps just retelling the story. I felt up under my right side like this hand, and if you can imagine like Mickey Mouse and his big puffy gloved hand, it felt like that just gently pushed me up over onto the branch of the tree.
Wow.
And that is the first, I don't know what you call it, spirit connection, interaction that's conscious that I remember to this day. And I'll never forget that. I don't
Mm-hmm.
care who you are, you're not going to be able to explain that away to me. That was a real experience that I had. I would not have made it over to that tree. I would have fallen. And I don't know if I would have died, but I would have severely injured
And
myself. It was
very
a
seriously hurt.
huge tree.
Absolutely.
It was a
Absolutely.
huge tree. So that experience, I think, maybe subconsciously sort of laid the groundwork or the opening to just being open to things that are not mainstream. I mean, um,
Yeah.
My
Well,
whole family is creative arts related, and
um,
that. Oh,
so
sorry. Go
you're
ahead.
going to be more open-minded anyway when they're in
Yeah.
the creative arts. But one of the things, I mean, it's tough. I remember I was teaching children. So I taught children for about 5 years, and there was this little 6-year-old boy, and I taught him how to ground. And one of the things for the kids, I was always saying, let's create a language because it's hard to have a language on subtle things, on energy things.
Mm.
But we might even have to make up a word if we can't find a word that exists in our reality.
Oh, yeah, clever.
Yeah, so after he grounded, he was like, whoa, you can feel that. He goes, yeah. And I said, so how would you describe that in a word? And he said, weird. But then I said, okay, that's a good word. So then I said, can you use another word to describe it? And he goes, weird, weird. But of course he's grown now. I mean, I've been at this for so long that I now do readings on grandchildren and great grandchildren of some families. Uh, but that's what we do, I think, a lot. You know, we meet a lot. We have our mentoring Mondays. You definitely get to work at your own pace. So, what's that been like for you to be able to work at your own pace? You can pick it up when you want, or you can put it down when
That's
you want.
that's been tremendous. Like, um, I will go back though, and I'll say a word that comes to mind is just kind of in the pocket, settled. Like sometimes you use the word like feeling the gravitational pull. Like that's when I feel grounded physically, that's
You're
I
in
just
the
feel like
pocket.
settled. I just feel like, you know. So, but having the opportunity to go at my own pace has really been significant as well because it takes the pressure off of it feeling like I'm not doing something right, or if I'm not keeping up at this pace, am I doing it good enough? It just takes all of that sort of pressure
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of there anyway, that we're working on kind of clearing anyway, but it makes it okay that I might need to step back or do this one again, or spend longer on this, or
Yeah.
it made it feel okay to put it aside for a while when my dog got really sick, and what felt important to me was connecting with that experience of that, and so being able to feel okay about putting that
Yeah.
aside,
Yeah.
knowing that it's there when I need to or want to bring it
Mhm.
into the experience. That's been tremendous. For me personally, there are a lot of not a lot, but there are some kind of, for some reason I was going to use the word triggers, but when something feels too much like school, like I have to write
Oh,
assignments, or
authority
um,
thing. Yeah.
yeah, like I know that you encourage us to keep a journal and make comments and that, but after a while, I even had to put that aside because it felt like too much like school,
Mhm.
where I just needed to let myself do that when I felt compelled to do it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's how I do it. Like I journal when I feel compelled. I write when I feel compelled, but when I don't, I don't. And I don't worry about what if I forget, or what if I don't remember
Absolutely.
that experience? Because
Yeah.
what I've been noticing, when I trust that more, I
Mhm.
notice that I don't forget the things that I thought I might forget because they're meant to be something that's brought to my attention. So it's
Right. And that's that trust piece because
mhm,
you've mentioned this a couple times. You're really learning to trust your intuition a lot more.
yep,
And yeah, if you can't remember a technique or you can't anything in life, you can just let it go, surrender it, and know that it will come back in its own timing, and then you'll be able
mhm,
to integrate it. So
exactly.
we're going to start kind of wrapping up in the next 5 minutes.
Okay.
Before um, you joined Psychic Mastery Home Study, is what it was at the time. on a scale from 1 to 10, what would you have said your trust level of your intuitive instincts were versus now
Mm.
almost a year and a half later? What would you say the number is on a scale from 1 to 10, with 10 really trusting your instincts? What would you say your trust level is now versus before?
Okay, so I would say my trust level now is a really strong 8 or 9, and before maybe like a 5 or a 6,
Mm-hmm.
maybe. Um, and I think most of the time when I didn't trust myself, it was just afraid that I was going to be wrong. So like I knew that I knew that I had good instincts, and I knew that I had a sense of being connected to what that is for myself, but trusting it and really trusting it to the point of like following through with things that I'm being compelled to do, like that's a good solid 8, 9 right now.
Nice, nice. So in the program, you have lots of opportunity to learn. I mean, there's probably too much. Sometimes I bet it feels like too much, but that's just my thing because I teach. But it's like you have the mentoring Mondays, you've got the monthly group readings, you've got the monthly group calls. You definitely have the program and the videos and the audios and all of those. What would you say is one of your favorite parts of the whole program?
I think the monthly conference calls, but then also the readings that you do like for each group.
Mhm.
Um, okay, I'm picking a third thing now, but the fact that there are so many ways to access the information that you're sharing, fact that it is accessible in a time frame that works for you or it's great because it's there at any time. And I always, even if I'm listening to something a month after you originally did it, I still get something significant out of the experience. And it
Mhm.
and I get that reassurance that okay, this is something I was supposed to do at this time and not then, and that's why it's happening now and not then. So I think, you know, the events that happen that are like the whole community or the whole group is involved in it. I feel like
Mhm.
I even the mentoring Mondays, like those are the even though I'm not on all of them, but when I am, like even if I'm just in my quiet corner, there's just still something that's significant about that group
Mhm.
experience that
Mhm.
I didn't realize could be so profound. So
And that's the other thing I think that a really good point that you bring up, that if you want to participate, you're going to participate. If you like asking questions or participating in the watching some of our advanced students do readings and things like that, or sometimes I think I've done an exercise where I put in the longitude and latitude and you intuitively tune in to see where that might be in the world, to see if you can pick up on the energy. So we can do fun little games like that. But if you don't feel, if you just want to sit in your quiet little corner, you you can do that and you can just observe. So that's a good point too for people who might feel a little more like they're a little more introverted, a little bit shy, and observe. I was a big observer as well before I felt like I had the language to move forward and say something. So I'm always affirming with everyone that if your spirit says, wow, join this program, or I'm really feel called, spiritually called to this program, don't let your head talk you out of it. And like you said, you were so called that you didn't even bother to read what it was about. You could
I
feel
was just
it.
like, I could tell.
You could tell. That just blows my
Yeah.
mind that you would just do that. But if your spirit's telling you no, then you have to trust your body.
Right.
Don't let your head, your mental head say, I'm going to do it anyway. You know, I think I really want to do this. But if a friend was kind of questioning, what would you share with a friend if they wanted to know what this, if you would recommend this program or not?
Well, if someone was inquiring and they wanted to know if I would recommend it, I would say I would recommend it if you're looking for something to help explain kind of the unexplainable things in life. You know, like, you know, you hear people say, oh, and you've even mentioned it in times before, like, oh, I just didn't like the vibe of that person, or, you know, I'm just not in a good mood ever since, you know, I talked to so and so, or, you know, I don't know why I'm feeling so X today or whatever. Like, to me, what this program has helped me to do is understand the answers for why that is. And having that understanding allows me to feel more in control of not allowing myself to be triggered, or giving myself the space to heal that trigger, or, you know, understand how there's a whole sort of unseen level of interaction and communication that happens between people and things that lead to those things of like, oh, I just don't like that person, or that person gives me this feeling or that feeling. Oh, I really am drawn to this person or that person, or this experience
Yeah,
or
there's
that
an energy
experience.
thing that's happening,
Yeah,
right?
there's an actual energy thing that's happening. And if you're, you know, if you're open to, I would say to a person who's curious about it, that if you're open to learning more about that and learning how you can have a better self-awareness of that, and therefore community awareness of that, then I would say go for it. You know, there's no reason not to, in my view.
There's no reason not to. And of course, you get to come hang out with Gia on the calls and things. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap up here. We're right at about 32 minutes, but you know, we've had a lot of people greet, and Amy McBride saying, "Yay, Gia," and Pam saying this interview has been very helpful for her. So I just want to let you know that people have really enjoyed it, and I so appreciate it. And where do you live again? You live back east somewhere, don't you?
I do. I live in Dorchester, Massachusetts, East
Yeah.
Coast.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
this is the beauty about this program, is that we can have people all from, you know, different time zones that can join in and have access to this. Because in the olden days, people used to fly in from the East Coast to see me every month. Can you imagine?
Wow.
And so now,
Technology.
yeah, it's so nice to have access to these programs. All right, Gia, thank you again so much. And thank you everybody who popped on. And I know that loads of you, because the interview I had this morning, 120 of you have already viewed that interview. So I know quite a few of you are going to enjoy this one too. Thank you all from YouTube for hopping on as well. Tomorrow morning will be bonus day number 2. I'm going to be talking about clairaudience, hearing angels, hearing guides, hearing telepathic conversations going on, hearing music and songs. So that's going to be tomorrow morning, Saturday morning on YouTube, and Intuition with Precision on Facebook. And then I'm going to be doing 2 more interviews with current students tomorrow on Saturday. So got lots going on. And for Psychic Mastery, the date that it closes for enrollment is April 12th, the day that Jupiter and Neptune come together, where those planets are all about awakening the inner mystic. So perfect timing. Thank you again so much, Gia. I'm going to have
You're
you.
welcome. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm going to have you stay on as I end the broadcast. Okay.
Okay. Yep.
Bye bye, everyone.